All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, over the course of the last couple of years, I've made a series of videos pertaining to Mr. LeBron James, who I consider, of course, an all-time great basketball player. But due to the fact that the liberal sports media, the mainstream liberal sports media, has decided to make LeBron James their muse, that means that they're constantly trying to inundate the viewing public with a lot of false notions and false narratives about him that are incrementally and seemingly sequentially starting to become unraveled. Every time we watch LeBron James, another false narrative about him is starting to get shredded apart and torn apart, because what we're seeing with our eyes goes against what we're being told by the mainstream liberal sports media about him. That being that he's a great leader, that he's someone that everyone across the NBA wants to play with. These are things that we heard from the liberal sports media after LeBron James went back to Cleveland. I've always stated that it's not true. And now we're starting to see so many pundits in the basketball world publicly turn against LeBron James and those false narratives. They're not condemning him as a person. They're just revealing what he actually is about on the basketball floor, which is that he's a preternaturally gifted basketball player as an individual. But he's not someone who elevates the play of his teammates anywhere near as much as the mainstream liberal sports media would like you to think. So that brings us to yesterday's game against the New York Knicks on quote-unquote St. Patrick's Day, actually the Liberalia, where LeBron James once again showed that when the going gets tough, he separates himself from his teammates. So many people say, well, you know, LeBron James, he's always sat at the end of the bench. It's not that big a deal. Well, brothers, in school, on the first day, if the teacher allowed you to pick your seats, or if the teacher might not have assigned seats yet, and you decided that you were going to pick a seat in the back of the class, even though there were many available seats in the front of the class, and if the teacher saw that there were too many students doing that, what would he do or she do? They would say, move up. I don't bite. I want the students to be engaged. Why is that? Because where you choose to sit in a group setting will oftentimes reveal what your mentality is. Now, me personally, I like to sit in the back because I like to know what's going on in front of me. But I understand why a teacher or an instructor or a coach per se would want everyone who's under him or her to be as close as possible, because it shows involvement. When LeBron James tries to sit all the way at the end of the bench, not only is he showing that he's not concerned about being a real leader to the younger members of the team, that's also him showing that he has no respect for the coach. So anyway, LeBron James is #1 fan in the super liberal mainstream sports media, that being Shannon Sharpe, is going to detonate on Walt Frazier for speaking certain inconvenient truths about LeBron James. So of course they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
LeBron and his Lakers lost a tough one to the Knicks at MSG yesterday when LeBron's potential game winner was blocked. And in the first half, he was called out by a Hall of Famer. LeBron was seen sitting away from his teammates on the bench during a timeout, and that didn't sit well with Knicks analyst Walt Frazier. Let's take a listen.
This type of behavior is not, when you're the face of the NBA, I think you should be more a part of your team, folks. No matter.
Well, Walt, I have news for you, bro. LeBron James was the face of the NBA. He's no longer the face of the NBA. Now, maybe he did this purposefully, or maybe he did not quite understand that when he made the decision to go out to LA, it was equivalent to the sun traversing the sky from the east to the west before it makes its departure. LeBron James is a shining light that's in the process of making his departure. So, of course, it's convenient for him and it's apropos for him to head out west, because he is no longer going to be the face of the NBA going into next season. Now, maybe he might be able to reclaim that spot, but as of right now, LeBron James is no more of a shining light than a Stephen Curry, than a Kevin Durant, than a Giannis Antetokounmpo. But who knows? LeBron may have a very captivating last act in his career, or at least in his NBA career.
No matter what is going on in the public, you gotta be a part of the team. Maybe in the locker room you're not, but you have to exhibit that type of togetherness in public, folks. And right,
LeBron don't care about that. Most of those guys are gonna be out of there after the season.
Right now, we see he doesn't really care. So that's why this man is rumored to. This is his last season as the Laker coach.
Not only is this going to be Luke Walton's last season as a coach, his whole staff is out of there.
Okay, FS1 NBA analyst Kenyon Martin is with us now. So,
if Kenyon Martin is one of your NBA analysts, you guys need to do a better job.
Oh, Kenyon, do you agree with those comments from Frazier?
I think he's reaching. You got to look at the whole scenario of the timeout. Did LeBron James just come out of the game? Had he been sitting over there for a while?
Well, Kenyon Martin, I have news for you. For Walt Frazier to make the statement that he made, he's not just looking at the context of the timeout. He's looking at the context of the entire season. That's why I state that if Kenyon Martin is your NBA analyst, you guys got to do better. There's a reason why Walt Frazier said what he said.
What the situation was, you don't know. I think he's reaching. Does Andre Ingram not care as well? Does Tyson Chandler not care?
So in other words, you're equating LeBron James to Andre Ingram and Tyson Chandler.
Like you just singled out LeBron James in this instance.
I wonder why. Maybe it's because he's viewed as being the leader of the Lakers. He's viewed as being one of the all-time great players. They expected him to, at the very least, help many of the younger players grow this season. He has not done that. All he's done is alienate many of the younger players on the team. Most of those players are still going to be members of the Lakers next season, I believe, because who the hell is going to trade for Brandon Ingram with a blood clot issue? You know, you might be able to get something for Lonzo, but who the hell is going to trade or at least allow Brandon Ingram to be a part of a major package to get a superstar in return? So that Anthony Davis deal, that's dead. So LeBron has to hope that they're able to allocate a couple of free agents, and I just don't see it. Who the hell is going to come out to LA to help him out, knowing that when things go bad, they're going to get all the blame? And LeBron James, as he's already stated, he loves negativity. He loves a negative environment. He loves chaos. He dwells in it, and that's just it's an atmosphere that he enjoys immersing himself in.
Because anything LeBron James does at this point is magnified. People nitpick. Can't do.
Yeah, bro, it's called fame. When you sign a $1 billion lifetime contract with Nike, that's what happens.
Can't do anything right. They're losing. It's all his fault. Coach fired. I think Clyde is reaching at this point. You don't know the scenario. You don't know, like I said, did he just come out of the game? Is that his scheduled rest? Had he been sitting over there for minutes?
Right, but what does that have to do with what Clyde stated? The statements that Clyde is making are pertaining to an energy and a spirit that he has noticed over the course of this entire season. It has nothing to do with that individual game.
You got to look at the whole concept, the whole picture. You just can't. Single guy said he doesn't care. He's been the ultimate team guy every spot he's been in.
Allegedly.
Just can't one situation, one time out. The whole thing Rondo went through a couple weeks ago, you putting that into the situation he didn't. So I think he's reaching. I honestly think he's reaching.
Well, here's what we know, Kenyon Martin. The Lakers finished 35-47 last season, with Lonzo Ball missing like the last month and a half, 2 months of the season. Right now, they're 31-39. So they're on pace to have a record very similar to what they had last season. LeBron has missed how many games this season? Maybe 20 games? So you mean to tell me that even with LeBron James playing 60-plus games, you're going to have the same record? And there's not going to be any fallout for LeBron? Wake up, bro.
In your NBA career, was there ever a night when you started the game, you're in the starting lineup, that you did that? During a timeout, you just sat?
Yeah, that was my seat.
Okay.
That last seat on the bench of my 15-year career, no matter what team I was on, that last seat was my seat.
Well, you know what? That's not really an issue because there's no disrespect. On your best day, you were never anywhere near as good or as prominent a player as a LeBron James. You were never expected to be the leader of a team where the expectation was that you were going to have a transformative season. The Lakers were not expected to win anything this season, but they were expected to have a transformative season. There's been no difference from last year to this year. And that's the conundrum that people are dealing with in trying to fit LeBron James into this category of possibly being the quote-unquote all-time greatest player, and yet he's had no effect on this team.
Okay.
So when I come out of the game, whoever was sitting at a situation, I look, or somebody let you know this. Hey, Kenyon coming. That's my seat.
Okay. And I'll bet they moved.
No matter the situation, no matter the time, that's my seat.
When time was called and the team huddled around the coach, would you stay in your seat?
It depends on if I had just came out of the game or not.
Okay.
If I had just come out of the game, I know I'm not going back in the game, so whatever is said in that timeout doesn't pertain to me.
There you go. That's all I needed.
It doesn't pertain.
That's all I needed. I've been trying to tell you, Skip, baby.
So, if I'm been sitting over there and there's a timeout, I get up, I'm within earshot. If it doesn't pertain to me, then I go sit back down, maybe. Or if I go talk to one of the assistant coaches, go talk to some of the analysts at the game, I might go grab a piece of gum off the table. I might go blow my nose. I might go get some water.
Once again, all that's cool, but Kenyon Martin was he was a rim runner. He was a wing on a fast break. He's not LeBron James. When your team is 8 games below 500 at the 70-game mark, LeBron James is supposed to be in every huddle trying to spur his guys on. He's supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be allegedly the best player of all time. So I'm trying to make this comparison between LeBron James and Kenyon Martin is silly.
Water indicate you're still engaged in the game, right?
He was talking to Tyson. He got something from one of the trainers behind the bench or whatever he did. He was engaged. He just, whatever was said at that particular time, it didn't pertain to LeBron James. So
once again, this is not an issue that occurred in the game. Clyde Frazier is speaking on an energy that he's perceived from LeBron James and the LA Lakers situation for the entire season.
So like I said, if social media and cameras and all that was around when Clyde was playing, I'm pretty sure there was a timeout throughout his career that he wasn't in the huddle. So
that's possible. As a matter of fact, that's probable. But was Clyde Frazier on a team where he was expected to transform their energy, the atmosphere of the squad, the quote-unquote culture, and he was not as engaged as he should have been? That's the comparison. The comparison is not whether there was ever a timeout over the course of a season where you were not in the huddle. So, I mean, this is a red herring. We have to get back to what the crux of the statement is actually about. Clyde is talking about LeBron James's poor leadership in his view, how he's not been engaged with his teammates, how he's not gone out of his way to make sure that he includes himself or makes himself an appropriate face for the team. That's what it's in reference to. What Clyde pointed out with LeBron, which is a microcosm of what he's seen over the course of the season.
So I just think he's reaching, man. I just think everything that LeBron does at this point.
Are you going to make it, Shannon?
Oh, Skip Bayless. I don't agree. I wholeheartedly agree with Kenyon Martin. And I was so glad. I'm so glad we got a former NBA player because that's my argument.
Skip, I've been telling you for years now. I've been working for you for almost 3 years. You're dumb as rocks. Okay, so what? LeBron like to sit at the last chair. Who cares? Who gives a shit? Season's over. Let that man live. Let him enjoy something. I mean, he was out in New York. He wanted to be close to the nearest exit so that he knew where to go when the game was over. You know, he liked to hang out in New York sometime. Give him a break, Skip.
Had LeBron James, he had been sitting there. He wasn't going back in the ball game because we know now LeBron is on a minutes restriction. When he comes out of the ball game in the first quarter, he's not going back in to the start of the second. We know that now. So now, because LeBron low-hanging fruit. For the first time in 8 years, he's not going to be in the NBA Finals. For the first time in 14 years, he's not going to make the playoffs. So everything that's going wrong with the Lakers is LeBron's fault. This is a total...
Skip, I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. I'm not going to tolerate it. You're hurting our family. I go home at night, the kids are crying. Savannah is upset. We call LeBron on, on 5-way. We all get on the phone with LeBron. We'll talk to him and try to coax him through this shit because right now he's struggling. He's struggling. You saw the top of his head. Skip, the top of the man's head look like an hourglass. Okay? That's the stress you're putting on him. Why don't you stop?
Totally, like you said, Kenyon, the difference is between what Rajon Rondo did and LeBron. Somebody paid $5,000 a seat to sit in that seat that Rajon Rondo was sitting in. That seat that LeBron was sitting in, they sit it there especially for him. So we know that. It's easy. Oh, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. Really? So now all of a sudden they're...
You know what, Clyde Frazier? Stop worrying about LeBron and worry about them loud-ass suits. You must be colorblind. Nobody in their right mind wear a suit with that many damn colors.
They're losing. He doesn't care when he's just been doing it his whole career. But I guess he cared a little more when they winning. But now when you losing, he cares very little. LeBron...
That's normally how LeBron goes, Shannon Sharp. Everybody knows that. I've said that for the longest time. Once LeBron sees that he can't win, he taps out. And he goes into, let me just get my numbers mode.
Low-hanging fruit. Now they critique everything. But by the way, Skip Bayless, just because no one knew, LeBron had 4 strips of bacon, toast, and some egg whites yesterday for breakfast. Since y'all want to know everything about what he's doing.
And don't ask me how I know that, Skip. I know that because I cooked this for him. I was in New York yesterday for the game. Me and Brown and Savannah and the kids went to St. Patrick's Day. We was at the lead float, okay? Since you want to know everything about our family. And yes, we love each other. And you're not going to get in between that. Brown like 4 strips of bacon with eggs and some toast. Keep him strong for the day.
How do you know that?
How do you know, yeah?
He eats bacon? He doesn't eat bacon.
Yeah, he eats bacon.
He does not eat bacon.
He eats bacon, sausage too.
Yeah, bacon's just pure fat.
I don't
eat that.
good. That's good healthy fat.
He needs it. He's running it off.
Yeah, that keto.
Hey, he averaged 38 minutes a game. He needed it.
Yeah. Now, Skip Bayless, now you heard an NBA player tell you how you feel about that now, Skip.
Yeah.
How you like it, Skip? Would you leave our family alone now? Will you please? Look like a damn mummy?
Yeah.
Hey, Walt Frazier used to be an NBA player. He won not 1 but 2 championships with the New York Knicks and was probably the best player on both of those teams. You could argue that.
Yeah.
I'll say he was. But was he the face of the franchise or face of the league? Nope, he wasn't that.
Thank you, sir.
LeBron James is the face of the league. No.
For now. Even though it's teeter-tottering. Right now, I would say that he shares the spotlight with other prominent players.
No matter what's happened this year, he is it. He's still on the poster for this league. He's the guy, right?
Yeah.
You say he's the best player on the planet. I beg to differ, but most people believe he's still the best player on the planet.
Well, we can't call LeBron James the best player right now because of the lack of impact that he's had on his team. Even though he's put up good numbers, he's not had the impact that would create the necessity to call him the best player in the NBA anymore. So we can't do that right now. Once again, he might have a bounce back season next year, but as of right now, no.
So there is some more obligation on his part to look like he's invested, to look like he dares to even stoop to associate with his basketball team.
Agreed.
Because there have been numerous times this year when it looked like he was disassociating from the team. He sat before.
From the preseason, he's been like that, Skip. When there were reports that he sat separate from his teammates on the team bus. I mean, we pretty much knew what this was going to be with LeBron. The real question that no one is asking is, why would LeBron James purposefully put himself in a situation where he's playing around young kids who are not going to be ready to assist him in what he wants from them unless he came to LA for a different reason other than basketball? I mean, it's so clear as day. Anybody could see it.
Several seats away when he gets taken out of the game. He'll sit in the end seat when there are 3 seats in between him and the next player. Mm-hmm. It's optics. It is social media optics, but it's a bad look not only for the NBA but for the Los Angeles Lakers, who are paying him $35 million.
So if he's in the timeout,
goddamn, Skip. Now you're gonna put our money on Front Street, Skip? You putting our lives in danger. Talking about how much money our family bringing in. Okay, yeah, LeBron bringing in $37 million. 37.215 to be exact. I'm bringing in $800K at this cheap-ass job. And don't worry about how much Savannah bringing in. But yes, our family's we're doing very well for ourselves. Please make that the last time you talk about our income on TV.
I'm out, right?
Yep.
And engage. He won't let Luke talk, then what?
Well,
he's coaching the team now.
You would like to see
hold on. LeBron James trying to coach the team now.
Well, obviously, he's going.
Or maybe Kenyon Martin, maybe he can just join the huddle and be like a real member of a basketball team and just stand there and have certain comments or statements that he can add to assist his teammates in understanding what's going on out there on the floor a bit better. How about that? It does not have to be the extremes of either he sits at the very end of the bench or he jumps in the huddle and bogarts the entire proceedings. Maybe he can just take part in the huddle and be an actual leader, like he alleges himself to be.
Going to play the most minutes, right? Did he play the most minutes yesterday?
Yeah.
He played the most minutes. So you would think during each timeout, it's just incumbent upon him. It's a responsibility he carries at $35 million. Did you ever make $35 million? You did not.
But here's the thing, okay? But you make it seem like so moving forward, this is what I'm going to do.
Yep.
I'm going to watch with KD. I'm going to watch with Harden and Steph and all these great players.
But they're not LeBron.
But yes, they are. Yes, they are. For their team, they are. For their team, they are LeBron James. For their team,
I think
they are
LeBron James.
For the Houston Rockets, Chris Paul and James Harden is LeBron James.
Okay.
And I saw James Harden last night.
For the Golden State Warriors, KD and Steph is LeBron James.
And I saw last night James Harden had that heat pack on his neck, and when they was in the timeout, he was still sitting on the bench.
And ain't nobody saying nothing. Because guess what?
They're not LeBron.
They're in third place.
Skip.
Who's more popular, LeBron James or
It's
James
not about...
No, actually, it is about popularity. And this is what people like Shannon Sharp and other fanboys of LeBron James don't understand. You can't just take the platitudes and then reject the criticisms. When you're at the top of the mountain, proverbially speaking, there are going to be arrows that will be shot at you. Why is that? Because there are higher expectations for you than many of the other players. If LeBron James does not want to be placed under higher scrutiny, then he has to get up off that mountaintop, which he's in the process of doing anyway. He's in the process of sliding down a mountain. We've already seen from KD and certain other prominent NBA players, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, that they will be put under scrutiny as well. So it's not just about LeBron. I could easily see Kyrie Irving being a part of a news cycle story if he were to sit totally separate from his teammates. But he's not doing that. LeBron James is.
Help me out.
Yeah, but no, that's not what he said. He said that it showed that he didn't care. James Harden doesn't care.
Walt Frazier said, when you are the face of the NBA.
Doesn't matter at that particular point.
Right?
No.
Face of the NBA.
But Skip, he's making it seem like what LeBron doing is
It's
not
detrimental
normal
to his team.
That's normal. Kenyon just said that's normal what players would do.
Shannon Sharp, once again, brother, it's no disrespect, but your boy LeBron James tried to get half the team traded. He tried to get half the team traded, and then after that, he decided that he was just going to sit at the far end of the bench, away from his teammates. That has a very poor resonance overall, especially when we're hearing stories from many of his teammates, his younger teammates, saying that they don't want to play with him, or at least allegations that many of his younger teammates don't want to play with him anymore. It seems that both sides have soured on one another. And then we link that up with the poor win output of the Lakers this season. How could you get upset at Walt Frazier? You wasn't mad at Walt Frazier when he went at Kevin Durant earlier this year. Now all of a sudden you hate Walt Frazier.
If they're not going back into the game, what he's saying is not going to affect them.
Talking out of both sides of mouth.
How?
1 minute, you want him to be the best player on the planet.
No, not just the best player on the planet. They want him to be the greatest player ever, at least in the case of Shannon Sharp. And, to whom much is given, much is required.
Yes.
In the next minute, you want to say, well, he can do whatever he wants to do,
that's
like
not-
everybody does.
No, he's doing what every other player does.
He's not everybody.
He's
LeBron
is he
James.
part of
Is
that
it a bad
15?
look?
Is he a
Yes.
part of that 15-man roster?
Yeah. So you just
He's part of a team.
Ben Roethlisberger,
part of a team.
ex-players. So here's an ex-player.
He's part of a team.
That's taken a big shot.
But he's low-hanging fruit.
All ex-players take
He's
shots
not
at these guys.
LeBron.
LeBron James is the highest hanging fruit.
He can't do anything
highest
wrong.
hanging.
He can't do anything
Okay.
wrong.
You
He's
know what?
human. Is he human?
LeBron James
Is he
had
human?
an opportunity this
human?
year.
Is he human?
Unfortunately, he is.
So therefore, humans
He pulled a muscle this year.
yeah, so he's human.
You believe in that?
Right, but what type of argument is that he's human? What does that mean? That he can willfully keep making the wrong decisions when it comes to leading the team and then use the excuse that he's human? Okay, so now when it's time to sign that next contract, the general manager should tell him, or any other star who does not want to embrace more responsibilities for more acclaim and more affluence, just tell him, well, you know what, I'm human. So I made a mistake when I wrote out this check. You're not going to get the max this year. You're going to get the minimum. It doesn't work that way, Kenyon Martin.
Even that, I thought he was Iron Man.
Hey, he's human.
LeBron James had an opportunity this year to do the greatest thing he's ever done. That's to take this Laker team without a bona fide second star to him into the playoffs. If he'd make the 8th seed, I would have said, wow, that's really good.
No, I expected him to be somewhere around anywhere from 3 to 6. For him to not make the playoff, that's a major ding on his legacy.
Good.
No, you wasn't.
You thought he'd been the 4th seed.
You
For a while, it looked like he would be the
said that
4th seed.
LeBron James is the greatest player in the NBA Michael Jordan would have had him at least to the second seed.
Take them to the conference finals. You get that team to the conference finals, I'd be saying, wow.
Really, Skip?
Yeah, but to do it, you're going to have to lead those kids. You can't.
Absolutely.
You can't send the message constantly. I don't want to associate with those guys because that's a mess over there.
Yep. That's not my team. I'm just here.
There. Don't include me with them.
So that's what they told you?
Yep. That's what he's done.
That's exactly what that has told anyone who's paid attention, Kenyon Martin.
He's done it all year.
Is that what they told you?
He's done it all year.
We ain't talking about all year. We're talking about this specific situation that Clyde Frazier.
Well, Clyde Frazier's talking about all year. That's why he made the statement that he made. You think that Clyde Frazier's just saying that because he saw LeBron James sitting at the end of the bench against the Knicks? Clyde Frazier's been following the NBA for the last 50 plus years, dude. He knows what he's watching.
Frazier criticized
but this is not unusual. He's been doing this
We're talking
consistently.
about this situation.
But he did it in Cleveland.
And they went to 8 straight finals.
Well, he did it in Cleveland at the very worst time, at the end of regulation of Game 1 when they had him. Had him on the ropes.
But if he did it
And what did he do then? He pouted. That was just a straight pout.
He did it in Miami.
Yeah.
So did he not care? So
Did he not care then?
Did he not care in Cleveland?
in Cleveland, Miami.
Which situation are we talking about?
Same when he sit on the end of the
Game
bench.
1.
We sit on the end of the
No,
bench.
Game 1. Don't associate me with those guys.
Stop.
I don't do that.
Stop.
Let me say this. When you have a different role on a team, you have to do different things. If you're supposed to be the steward over a group of young players, you might have to change your protocol up a bit so that you can accentuate to them the importance of a change in culture. You cannot compare what LeBron James did in Miami, where they had a framework of leadership already with Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra and Dwayne Wade, or even what he did in the past, to what he has to do right now, where he's expected to be the alpha wolf, the alpha male wolf, leading a group of pups. How are they going to find any sort of inspiration from him if he's always trying to detach himself and use the claim that he's always done this? Well, you know what? If you want different results, you have to do different things. If you're losing and you keep sitting at the very, very end of the bench and not being more proactively involved in what's going on, you're going to keep losing. And that's what's happening.
Stop it. No. We're not talking about no Game 1.
Okay.
We're talking about a behavior that the man has exhibited throughout his 16-year career.
Well, you know what, Shannon Sharp, maybe if he were more involved, particularly in where he sat on the bench and was more engaged with the coaches, maybe he may have won a couple more championships. As Skip Bayless brings up very well, after Game 1 against the Warriors last year, he pulled that act where he sat outside the huddle and all that other stuff, and there were even teammates who were trying to get him back involved in the huddle, but he mentally was finished.
When he's not about to be involved in the game, so he sits over there. So what, did he not care then, or did he just not care now?
Right now, he doesn't care. The way that you know that he doesn't care is because he's not willing to change his conduct to change the lack of winning on a young team. Shannon Sharp, his role is completely different on this team than it's ever been anywhere else while he's played basketball. So we can't just look at what he's done in the past and compare it to what he's doing now.
I just got to tell you, I respect the heck out of Walt Frazier.
Of course, because he criticized LeBron.
He's a big guy. Nope, he's not the first.
So he's not allowed to be wrong?
No, you
Just because you respect, he's not allowed to be
Frazier
wrong?
wrong.
Yeah, I'm calling him wrong. Yes,
Okay,
Kenyon Martin said to call him wrong.
I'm calling him Hall of Fame.
Oh, he's a Hall of Fame? Yes. That
Hall of
doesn't mean
Fame
he's
is
right.
wrong, Skip.
That don't mean he's
Calling
right.
him a 2-ring Hall of Fame.
No, he's still
That
wrong.
don't
How
mean
many
he always
basketball
right.
rings do we have at this table right now?
Doesn't mean he's right.
How many do we have?
Skip Bayless hitting below the belt. He's saying, Kenyon Martin, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about. And I could have told you that. I have no idea why they have Kenyon Martin on this channel talking basketball.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
Skip.
we have none.
You're not always right.
Skip.
You're not always right.
Skip, here's the thing, though, Skip.
That's not always right.
See, that's the biggest misconception. People think right has to do with equation.
No.
Whether you want a Pulitzer Prize or a Nobel Prize, you can be wrong.
Yes.
I got 3 rings. I can be wrong.
Is that a bad look for LeBron?
Well, Shannon, you're wrong a lot. But Skip is correct on this one. Walt Frazier's correct as well.
For LeBron James?
No.
Yes.
No.
No, it's not.
Is it a bad look for the league? Yes.
No, it's not.
It just is. If
it's not.
Clyde Frazier says that's a bad
No,
look,
it-
I'm going to take that to my bank.
Why? Why is Clyde Frazier?
And that's going to
Because what Clyde is saying is not just based on what he saw yesterday. It's a carryover from what he's seen over the entire season. That's why Clyde made the
Host
statement.
of New York
No,
basketball,
no.
unfortunately.
Yeah, he's
He's still only got.
Yeah, in the 70s, yeah, I get it.
But he's the same guy that says KD is not worthy because he went and joined Golden State. Is he right?
Well, a lot of people believe that.
I don't know what a lot of
You think that.
Unfortunately, I don't
Wait a minute.
have
You
enough
think
time.
that.
We're talking about.
Thank you, Skip Bayless. Shannon Sharp thought that. So why is he trying to act like he don't know?
Anyway, we are. We're talking about that.
What Clyde said about that.
situation.
Right. What Clyde said about KD.
All right, it's good to get your take.
Thank you, man.
Wish we had more time. Why? Oh, why is Jerry?
Skip, I'm so sick of you. I really am. I can't wait till, this Hollywood deal come through on LeBron, working with some of these Jewish executives so I could quit this show and we could, just chill out, live high on the hog. I could leave your old ass behind. But anyway, once again, just getting back to the point, Clyde is saying something and he's a bit ahead of the curve. We're going to hear much more about these things in the years to come or the next couple of years with LeBron in LA. And then people will say, you know what? Wow. Clyde Frazier was saying that in such and such time period or during such and such game that LeBron is detached from his teammates. You're going to hear more and more about that, especially if the Lakers are unable to sign a top free agent. And many of their representatives say, we don't want to team up with LeBron because we don't think that he's a good leader. We think that he creates a negative environment. But anyway, peace.